Hello there and a very good evening to all of you and welcome to the news tonight here on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tracy Shilji and in the next 30 minutes I'll be getting you through the latest news from India and across the world. Of course, a closer look at the British elections, a landmark victory really for the Conservatives. Details of that in a bit, but before that, the headlines. A united opposition protest in the Lok Sabha over a 3-day extension of the ongoing session. The House was not taken into confidence on the move, alleges the Congress. Proceedings in Rajya Sabha also disrupted as the Congress demands Union Minister Nitin Gadkari's resignation on indictment by a CAG report. Actor Salman Khan stays out of jail for now. Khan's 5-year sentence in the 2002 hit-and-run case has been suspended by the Bombay High Court. David Cameron is back for a second stint as Britain's Prime Minister. Conservatives pull off a clear majority, beating all expectations. Key opposition leaders step down. And Pakistan's Taliban claims responsibility for the chopper crash in Pakistan that killed 2 foreign diplomats and 4 others. The terror outfit says their original target was Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. Our top story, Lok Sabha was adjourned twice today as a joint opposition took on the government for its decision to extend the current session by 3 days. The cabinet had decided to do so yesterday to push for more bills, but the opposition termed the move authoritarian and protested against not being consulted.
The Lok Sabha witnessed a ruckus on Friday over the extension of the ongoing session till May 13th, leading to repeated adjournments of the House. Leader of the Congress in the Lok Sabha, Mallikarjun Kharge, demanded suspension of the question hour, alleging the government was extending the session without taking the House into confidence. However, the government rejected the criticism by the opposition. It said that the decision follows similar precedents, but it acknowledged that leaders of some parties could not be informed on Thursday as the Rajya Sabha worked till late and many ministers, including Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu, were busy.
वो निर्णय लेते हैं और वो एडवाइजरी में, बिजनेस एडवाइजरी में थोप देते हैं, तो थोपने के बाद यहाँ पर लाकर आपके थ्रू कहलाते हैं, तो मैं इसको कहना पड़ता है कि ये तानाशाही है। डेमोक्रेसी में ऐसी तानाशाही नहीं चलेगी।
As there was a serious business going on in Rajya Sabha, ma'am, I was there in Rajya Sabha up to my knowledge, if I am correct, around 9:05 or so in the night. After I came out of Rajya Sabha, then I started talking to different leaders. I could get them, some of them immediately. I could not get some of them immediately.
Other parties also raised objection to the cabinet's decision. CPM, Trinamool Congress and BJD echoed the Congress's views on the matter.
This sudden extension could have been avoided if a week or 10 days earlier we would have been informed, we would have told our people to do accordingly. We have cooperated. Yesterday the Constitution amendment was a proof, madam, that under your leadership the whole House voted as one.
We respect you, madam, that it is said that there is no question hour, there is no 0 hour, there is no other business. Then what is the use of, there is no 377, then what is the use of extending? So it is better to have a special session as stated by other honorable member.
Though Speaker Sumitra Mahajan rejected the request, she allowed members to take it up during 0 hour. The relentless opposition continued with protests, leading to adjournments. 0 hour also could not be taken up amid the din. With inputs from Shyam Sundar, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, Rajya Sabha witnessed repeated adjournments too as the opposition demanded the resignation of Union Minister Nitin Gadkari for alleged irregularities based on a CAG report. The government slammed the criticism but expressed willingness to discuss the issue of corruption. After day-long protests from opposition, the House was finally adjourned till Monday.
Congress MP Shantaram Naik pointed out in the upper house on Friday that the CAG flagged non-compliance by Purti Sakhar Karkhana Limited of conditions for interest subsidy extended to it by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. He said that a minister in the current government was once a board member in the company. Congress members upped the ante against the government over the issue.
That this is not a question of allegation against an individual or member of parliament or a minister. This is a CAG report, and on CAG report on earlier occasions, number of heads have rolled.
The chair urged the Congress members to take up the issue during the zero hour. The government also expressed willingness to discuss the issue of corruption.
कि आप अगर जिम्मेदारी के साथ करप्शन पे चर्चा करना चाहते हैं तो हम करप्शन पे चर्चा करने को तैयार हैं और कांग्रेस पार्टी को ये हम बताना चाहते हैं कि अब वो करप्शन पर हमेशा भागती रही है, हम करप्शन पर चर्चा भी करने को तैयार हैं और करप्शन के कीड़ों को भी खत्म करने को तैयार है, चाहे कहीं पर भी हो।
But protests continued in the House. Question hour became a casualty as Congress members persisted with their demand, leading to frequent adjournments. During the pre-lunch session, Congress demanded Prime Minister's reply and slammed BJP for its alleged double-speak on corruption. JDU MP Sharad Yadav also sought government's clarification.
वो अलार्मिंग है, ऐसी गंभीर रिपोर्ट है कि इसको छोड़ करके सदन आगे जाएगा तो इस देश में एक बड़ी बीमारी भ्रष्टाचार है.
Refuting charges levelled by the opposition, MOS Parliamentary Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi said that his government vowed of zero tolerance to corruption. He also asserted that CAG report will be examined by the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. The chair also urged the opposition to raise the issue according to the rules.
CAG की रिपोर्ट पर PSC चर्चा करेगी, CAG रिपोर्ट पे हम चर्चा नहीं कर सकते, ये भी आप जानते हैं. एक चीज, दूसरी चीज भ्रष्टाचार के मुद्दे पर हम पूरी तरह से चाहे आपका भ्रष्टाचार ना हो, चाहे कोई भी भ्रष्टाचार हो, हमने उसे न स्वीकार किया है न हम उसके साथ हैं.
See, with regard to CAG report, there is a procedure. There is a procedure. That procedure is CAG report should be presented in the Parliament, and then Parliament will refer it to the Public Accounts Committee.
But it failed to satisfy the opposition as Congress continued with protests in the House. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, a day after 4 women athletes attempted to commit suicide in Kerala, there were demands in the upper house to dismiss the Director General of the Sports Authority of India. Opposition members also demanded an immediate probe into the case in which one of the athletes died. The government assured the House of strict action against those found guilty.
Congress MP Pramod Tiwari tendered a notice under Rule 267 for suspension of business to discuss the alleged suicide attempt by 4 young female athletes at the Sports Authority of India Centre in Kerala. He said that the incident reflects nepotism and corruption in Sports Authority of India. The party demanded a thorough probe into the incident that has left 1 athlete dead and 3 others fighting for their lives.
ये भारतीय खेल मंत्रालय की दुर्दशा की वजह से 4 लड़कियों ने आत्महत्या करने का प्रयास किया. एक अपर्णा मर गई और 3 वेंटिलेटर पे रखे हुए हैं. ये खेल मंत्रालय में जो भाई भतीजावाद, भ्रष्टाचार, अपने लोगों को आगे बढ़ाना, इसके कारण ये हो रहा है.
उनको न सही खाना मिलता, न उनको एक्सरसाइज की सुविधा, तो सही पे जो है निश्चित रूप से जांच बिठानी चाहिए और वहाँ के सारे कोई कमीशन बिठा के इंक्वायरी कमीशन लगाना चाहिए. स्पोर्ट अथॉरिटी इंडिया सब और डायरेक्टर जनरल को हटाना चाहिए.
So it's a very serious issue. Government of India must inquire with all seriousness and assure the country, assure Kerala, assure the sports people that they will take very, very strong actions whatever happened there.
Deputy Chairman PJ Kurian rejected the notice for suspension of business to discuss the matter. However, he admitted the seriousness of the issue and urged the government to come back with a statement.
I don't know what is the reason. And out, please, out of the 4, 1 died. It happened in Kerala, Alapi. And condition of 2 are very critical. See, 1 girl or 1 person committing suicide is sometimes happens. 4 together. That means there is something very serious. Very serious. Therefore, even though I am not allowing the 267, I am ruling out the 267 notice, I am ruling out that. However, I observe that this matter is very important. I want the government to come back with a statement, inquire, come back with a statement. After the statement comes, we may even further discuss on that.
Addressing the concern of the members, Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi assured action by the government.
माननीय सदस्यों ने जो मुद्दा उठाया है निश्चित तौर से वो गंभीर है और उनकी भावनाओं से हम अपने को संबद्ध करते हैं। खेल मंत्रालय को और खेल मंत्री महोदय को हम इस पूरे के पूरे प्रकरण की जानकारी और जो माननीय सदस्यों की भावना है उसकी जानकारी देंगे और इस संबंध में जो भी कार्रवाई होगी उससे हम आपको अवगत कराएंगे।
Earlier, the Sports Ministry had ordered a probe into the case. It also directed SAI Director General to rush to Kerala for an on-the-spot assessment. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the 3 women athletes who survived the suicide attempt are reported to be in a stable condition today. Sports Authority of India Director General Injeti Srinivas met the athletes yesterday and assured proper medical treatment. The Sports Ministry, meanwhile, has constituted a medical board to investigate the incident. Relatives of the athletes allege that the girls were being physically and mentally tortured by their trainer.
We hope that they will get well soon and the medical all the doctors are there. They are attending them properly.
All right, now shifting focus, let's get to the big international story. In Britain's Conservatives, led by David Cameron, secured an unexpected majority in the UK polls, grabbing 330 seats in the 650-member parliament. The results prompted the leaders of the opposition, Labour, Liberal Democrats and the UK independence parties to resign. As he returns for another term, Cameron has promised to lead a government for one nation and make Britain even greater.
Contrary to the prediction of a hung parliament, Conservative Party emerged as the single largest party in UK polls. David Cameron-led Conservatives have 330 seats, 4 more than needed for a majority, their first such victory since 1992. Cameron is now beginning the process of putting together the new government. He met with Queen Elizabeth II at Buckingham Palace. Senior cabinet appointments are expected to be announced later today.
I've just been to see Her Majesty the Queen, and I will now form a majority Conservative government. I've been proud to lead the first coalition government in 70 years, and I want to thank all those who worked so hard to make it a success. And yes, we will deliver that in-out referendum on our future in Europe. As we conduct this vital work, we must ensure that we bring our country together. As I said in the small hours of this morning, we will govern as a party of one nation, one United Kingdom.
Cameron's rivals, Labour Party's leader Ed Miliband, Liberal Democrats leader Nick Clegg and UKIP's Nigel Farage all resigned after the election disappointment. However, in Scotland there was good news for pro-independence SNP, with Nicola Sturgeon's party seizing 56 of the nation's 59 seats.
This is not the speech I wanted to give today, because I believed that Britain needed a Labour government. I still do, but the public voted otherwise last night. Earlier today, I rang David Cameron to congratulate him. I take absolute and total responsibility for the result and our defeat at this election. I'm so sorry for all of those colleagues who lost their seats.
I always expected this election to be exceptionally difficult for the Liberal Democrats, given the heavy responsibilities we've had to bear in government in the most challenging of circumstances. But clearly the results have been immeasurably more crushing and unkind than I could ever have feared. For that, of course, I must take responsibility.
Clearly there is an appetite for change in Scotland, and there is a very, very strong desire for Scotland's voice to be heard much more loudly, and that's now the job of these 56 SNP MPs that are heading to the House of Commons.
Cameron's victory also means Britain will face a vote which he has promised on continued membership in the European Union. Cameron has promised to try to renegotiate terms of Britain's membership in the 28-nation European bloc and to hold a referendum by the end of 2017 on whether Britain should remain in the EU or not. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, so taking us through more of what happened today in this elections, the results. We've got Anand K. Sahai, who is the coordinating editor of the Asian Age, joining us in studio here. And also on the phone line from London, we've got Saptarishi Raut, who's an Indian voter in the United Kingdom, joining us now. Saptarishi, if I could come to you first, just give us a sense really of what you were expecting and how the Indians there are now reacting to a second term for Cameron.
That's a big question, Tracy. Obviously, the results have been quite surprising, quite unprecedented in many aspects. Many people kind of really forecasted Cameron to actually have a look. He has done a really decent job over the last 5 years on specifically around economy and the economic turnaround. But this election was quite marred with a number of contradictory issues. Obviously, you had the issues up north regarding the Scottish independence, and the SNP clearly rode a wave on that. You had a resurgent force in terms of far right in UKIP, which was riding at the sort of Europhobic perspective. And if you look into the results, although they only secured 2 seats, they clearly got a reasonable chunk of the vote. But beyond and above everything, what really came as a surprise is really the demise of Liberal Democrats. They definitely paid a high price for being on the other side of the government, kind of really being penalized for some of their early decisions on student loans. And Labour just completely got wiped out in the spotlight. So if you look into the overall, how the seats have been allocated, the fragmentation is really surprising. Up north in Scotland, it's all yellow with SNP. In the middle, you have some Labour pockets, which is always trusted Labour votes. But down south, it's predominantly Conservative, which is probably the more wealthier part of the country.
Yes.
And this fragmentation will be very interesting to look forward to, how it actually impacts the overall UK politics over the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
Because clearly Cameron will have greater challenge around sort of the overall national integration, specifically challenges coming from Scotland.
All right, Saptarishi, thanks so much for joining us and giving us, your take really on what you see ahead for Great Britain and, of course, the challenges that Cameron has to face. Meanwhile, Anand, of course, still with us here in studio. Anand, what's your take? 51%, in fact, we were just talking, 51% is what the Conservatives have finally got, and some seats, in fact, still to go. What were your reactions, as far as that big win was concerned?
Well, it's a stunning victory. It's a famous victory. A man who led the government in a coalition for 5 years comes back in this very sweeping way.
Yes.
That's one aspect of it. But he's demolished his opponents. That is the secondary aspect of it. And that should be taken note of. It was said earlier on that when the results were coming in, that because the Labour Party fared so badly in Scotland, that it is having to see this day. And I'm not so entirely sure of that. It is true that the Scottish National Party, it was a clean sweep for them, 56 out of 59 in Scotland.
Yes.
But if you were to reverse the situation and you gave Labour, say, 50 seats in Scotland, even then they're nowhere near the halfway mark, and that's because they have fared poorly in England and Wales. So that will be the big shock for the Labour leadership.
Yes.
As far as the strengthened Prime Minister goes, he will have 2 major issues before him. One is the resurgent Scottish national vote. SNP lost the referendum last year for an independent Scotland, but they've come back with this result. Now, does this mean that there will be further pressures for another referendum for Scottish independence? We don't know that. And if so, how does Mr. Cameron tackle it? Does he tackle it? Does he try to tackle it by allowing for greater devolution of powers to Scotland? That's one aspect. The second is the EU vote. What the British are calling the in-out vote, whether you remain in the 28-nation grouping or you come out.
Yes.
Now, my own hunch is that it will be, they will be committing a strategic mistake if they opted to pull out, and therefore I do not think they will do so. And the reasons are many. One is that the British industry, they have advised caution. Some of them have even said that no, please, for God's sake, stay put in the EU, because there are estimates that something between 30 and 90 billion pounds worth of investments have come into Britain as a result of their EU membership.
Yes, and that voting is actually going to be taken 2017.
Well, that's all right. I mean,
yes.
But
you know, Anand, yeah.
Nobody is saying that the voting is tomorrow.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is that
Yes.
apart from the money, apart from the economic aspect, Britain's voice in NATO is likely to count for less if it was to pull out of EU, no matter which way it seeks to negotiate the terms for continuing if it wishes to continue. And the Americans have expressed their concern. President Obama has said, for God's sake, don't do this.
Yes.
Don't come out
while
of
we are even
EU.
talking, while we are even discussing this and we're talking about the win, economics playing a crucial role there, Anand. Do you think that also, swayed in favor of Cameron? Because, I mean, they did come out of recession during...
Yes, I'm glad you raised this point because the economy, a number of Western economies were in serious crisis, and like the American economy, the British economy is like, pulling back, the growth rate has improved, but what has not improved is employment, So that is an issue that the Prime Minister can hardly afford to overlook.
All right.
And that will be one tricky point as far as his continued tenure goes.
That's right. All right, Anand Kesai, thanks so much for joining us as usual, giving us your input really and your perspective into what is the big international story today. Thanks so much for joining us. And as we were talking about markets, markets in India as well bounced back after 3 days of consecutive slump. Rupee, of course, recovering as well. We'll get you details of that in just a bit. Stay with us.
A surprise election result. The Tories retain power in UK. How did it happen? What role did the Indian vote play? Watch the big picture, 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Let's get you some more news. National News 9. It was the most important Friday for Salman Khan today as his bail got further extended in the 2002 hit-and-run case. This after the Bombay High Court suspended his 5-year sentence. Khan had challenged the conviction and the appeal will now be heard on the 15th of June. Here are the details.
Scenes outside Salman Khan's home in Bandra in Mumbai as news came in of a longer-term breather from the High Court after the 2-day interim bail. The actor himself, who didn't have to appear in court this time, soon emerged, headed to the trial court where he was asked to surrender and furnish a fresh bail bond. He'd got interim bail on the grounds that he didn't get a detailed order explaining reasons for the conviction.
उनका अपील एडमिट किया गया है और उनको जमानत दी गई है 30,000 रुपीस की और सुनवाई जो है वो जुलाई में अंतिम सुनवाई होगी.
The defense had argued that 4 people were present in Salman's SUV at the time of the accident in 2002. It proposed that singer Kamal Khan, who was with Salman at the time of the accident, be brought back from abroad to depose.
The High Court has powers also to ask the session judge to ask Kamal Khan to depose, because till the time Kamal Khan's deposition is not taken, it will be very difficult to prove that whether there were 4 people in the vehicle, whether Salman Khan was driving the vehicle or it was Ashok Singh.
On Friday, Khan's lawyers reportedly also cited the actor's humanitarian work and an apparent neurological condition as grounds for suspension of the sentence. The appeal will be heard in July and the actor will need special court permission to travel abroad in the interim. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And now, after 3 consecutive days of a slump at the markets, there was a bounce back today. The Sensex jumped over 500 points after dropping to a 4-month low. It regained the 27,000 mark by ending with a gain of 506 points. The Nifty also regained the 8,200 mark during intraday trade. However, it ended with a rise of just 134 points. Rupee also saw some recovery after hitting a 20-month low on Thursday. It had breached the 64 mark against the US dollar in yesterday's trade. And now let's get you some quick national news updates. Greenpeace India responded to government's show-cause notice on Friday regarding financial regulation violations and demanded the Home Ministry to unblock their domestic accounts. Government has blocked foreign funding to Greenpeace and has restricted its financial activities while accusing them of misusing the funds. The activists have also written an open letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his intervention. The West Bengal CID has arrested two men accused in the gang rape of a 70-year-old nun on March 14th this year. Main accused, Milan Sarkar, was arrested along with his accomplice Vahidur Babu from Shialda station last night. A massive fire broke out in a market area of Jalpaiguri, gutting down at least 150 shops. More than 13 fire tenders were rushed to douse the fire. No casualty was reported and the cause of the fire, though, is yet to be confirmed. Now let's get you some news from Pakistan. And the ambassadors of the Philippines and Norway were killed along with 4 others when a helicopter carrying 11 foreigners crashed in the Gilgit-Baltistan region. 2 more envoys from Poland and Holland were injured as well. The helicopter crashed on a school building in Naltar Valley when the diplomats were on their way to attend a ceremony where Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was scheduled to speak. Pakistan's Taliban has claimed responsibility for this attack, saying their main target was Nawaz Sharif. However, Pakistan's Foreign Secretary issued a statement saying that the chopper probably crashed due to some technical fault.
बिल्कुल एक इत्तफाकिया हादसा था, तकनीकी बुनियादों पर वजूहात की वजह से ये वकूअ पज़ीर हुआ। हमें अभी तक जितनी मालूमात मिली है उससे तो यही जाहिर होता है। आगे जाके मजीद देखेंगे कि क्या हो, जैसे जैसे मजीद हकायक से आगाही हो।
Now for more international news updates, let's get you Global Buzz. Chinese President Xi Jinping met his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Moscow today ahead of the World War II anniversary celebrations. Talks between the two leaders are expected to focus on energy, transport and finance deals. More than 40 agreements ranging from security to the economy and energy are expected to be signed by the two leaders as they are poised to boost Sino-Russian ties. The US has begun training moderate Syrian rebels as part of an effort to build a force capable of fighting against the Islamic State group. The US plans to train and arm a force that is expected to eventually total more than 15,000 troops. So far, more than 3,750 Syrian fighters have volunteered for the training and about 400 have completed the pre-screening. The US Senate has advanced legislation that would allow the Congress to review a nuclear deal between world powers and Iran. The Senate's decision clears a major hurdle after weeks of Republican infighting threatened the bill's passage. Congress would have 30 days to both review any nuclear accord with Iran and pass a resolution of disapproval. And that's all we could pack in on the news tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.